When I married Lindai, I thought I had found a woman who saw my heart more than my income, my kindness more than my status. I was an ordinary software technician from Durban, quiet and hardworking, not flashy, not loud. But Lindai always carried one shadow into our marriage, her ex Sibusiso. A tall, muscular businessman who once drove luxury cars and threw money like confetti. Even though he had cheated on her, even though he had broken her spirit, she still compared every man to him as if he was the standard the whole world must follow. In the first months of our marriage, I ignored the comparisons. When she said, Sibusiso used to take me to fancier restaurants, I told myself it was harmless. When she said he bought me designer bags, I told myself she was still healing. But the day she told me, you will never match my ex, something in me cracked quietly inside. I didn't shout. I didn't argue. I only looked at her and said, maybe one day you will see the difference between a man who performs love and a man who gives love. She rolled her eyes and walked away. I loved her, but love cannot survive where respect keeps bleeding. Still I stayed. I woke up at 5 a.m. daily to take taxis across town, repairing faulty systems in schools and offices. I saved every cent, building a small side business fixing computers for local shops. I wasn't rich, but I was growing. Lindau didn't notice. She only noticed what I wasn't, what I didn't have, what I didn't buy. One Saturday morning, I walked into the house carrying groceries, sweating from the long walk, only to hear her on the phone laughing loudly. No, he can't even afford those things, she said. Please, Cebu, my husband is not you. She didn't know I was behind the door. The laughter cut me deeper than anything. I stood there, listening to the woman I loved belittle me to a man who once betrayed her. When she finally saw me, her smile faded. I put the groceries down and simply said, if you want him back, go. I'm not chaining you here. She didn't apologize. She just said, stop being dramatic. I was joking. A joke that tasted like truth. The next months were tense. I focused more on my work, drowning myself in late-night repairs and coding. Opportunity finally came when a big telecom company opened applications for small tech contractors. I applied with a simple presentation and a borrowed suit. When I got selected as one of the lead partners, everything changed. Suddenly my small business wasn't so small. I had to hire 2 assistants. I had to open an office. Money started flowing, not fast, but steady and clean. Money I earned with my own hands, not with deceit or show-off. But I didn't tell Lindai immediately. Her words still lived in my chest like stones. I waited to see if she would notice my growth without me announcing it. Weeks passed. She didn't ask where I was working these days or why I came home late. She only asked, why don't you have time for me? But time had never been what she needed. She needed a comparison, a scale, a war she could keep winning. Then one afternoon, everything changed. I was in my office helping a client set up new servers when the receptionist called me. Sir, someone is here to see you. He says his name is Sibusiso. I froze. Lindau's ex, the man I had been compared to for years. I stepped outside and there he was, dressed in a faded blazer, holding an old briefcase, eyes tired, beard rough. He didn't look anything like the stories Lindau told. He looked defeated. Mfawathu, he said softly. Can I talk to you? We walked to the corner outside. He cleared his throat, struggling to stand tall. I heard you run a successful tech company now, he said. I'm looking for a job. Anything. I can sweep floors. I can help carry equipment. Anything. For a moment, I thought he was joking. Sibusiso, the great Sibusiso, asking me. The man Lindau said could never match him for a job. The universe had a sense of humor. I asked him, what happened to your business? He looked away and sighed. COVID hit. The debts hit harder. Investors pulled out. My car was repossessed. I'm trying to rebuild. I heard from a friend that you are doing well, so I came here. That moment didn't make me proud. It made me silent. Life had humbled this man. And without even knowing, he was about to humble Lindau too. Let me think about it, I told him. He nodded, ashamed, and walked away. I didn't tell Lindau. Not yet. That evening, she cooked supper and placed her phone on the table with her usual habit of scrolling through social media. She looked at me and said, why do you look strange? Rough day. I almost laughed. The next morning, Sibusiso returned, holding his CV. My assistant was surprised to see him. I took him to the meeting room and told him gently, "I'm not sure I have a position for you yet, but I will call you." He nodded, grateful, and left. I sat there for 10 minutes, breathing slowly, thinking about how life spins. I didn't want revenge. I didn't want to embarrass him. But I wanted Lindau to see what she never saw. A man's true worth is not in wealth, status, or noise. It's in character, resilience, and consistency. That evening she asked casually, "So how was your day?" "Interesting," I said. "Someone came to ask me for a job." She smiled. "Oh really?" "Your ex." She froze. Her hand slowly put down the spoon she was holding. What do you mean?" "He came to my office. He needs work." The way her eyes widened, the way her breath got stuck, the way her pride cracked. It was all silent but loud enough. She whispered, "My ex came to you? For a job?" "Yes." She looked down, embarrassed, ashamed, almost trembling. She finally asked, "And what did you say?" "I told him I would think about it." She swallowed hard, her voice suddenly soft. "You didn't hire him, did you?" "Not yet," I said. "But I might. He's a man trying to rebuild his life." She stared at me like she was seeing me for the first time. "I'm sorry," she said quietly, "for everything I said." "Sorry for which part?" I asked calmly. She took a deep breath. "For saying you'll never match him. For comparing you to him. For making you feel small." I didn't reply. I didn't need to. The next week, I hired Sibusiso, not out of pity, but because he was genuinely good at logistics, and he worked harder than anyone. In 3 months, he became one of my most reliable staff members. Life had humbled him, and humility made him better. Lindau changed. She became softer, quieter, more grateful. One night she whispered, "You are the man I prayed for but didn't recognize." I looked at her and said, "Respect is not something you give when things are good. It's something you give because you see a man's potential even before it shows." She nodded, tears in her eyes. Our marriage slowly healed. Not because I became richer, but because she finally understood the value of a steady man. One day, Sibusiso came to my office with a small box. "I want to thank you," he said. "You gave me work when no one else would." Inside the box were 2 small carved statues, symbols of strength and gratitude. I accepted them with a smile. When I got home, I placed them on the table. Lindau stared at them, then whispered, "Life has a way of teaching us quietly." I agreed. Months later, my business grew even bigger. I opened branches in 2 new cities, and every time I looked at my journey, I remembered the day my wife said I would never match her ex. But destiny had the final answer. Sometimes God delays your blessing not to punish you, but to expose people's hearts before he lifts you. Lindau learned that a man's value isn't in how loud his success is, but in how silently he builds. And I learned that the best revenge is not shouting, arguing, or proving anything. The best revenge is becoming.